Hello there, Gemini, and welcome to your reading for the month of May. We are looking at a card from the Seed and Sickle Oracle deck with me, Joey Morris, the Starry-Eyed Hedge Witch. We are pulling with the Dawn Guidebook in question, so we can look at new beginnings and growth and all that good stuff for your month. If you would like to hear more about that, you can check it over on this YouTube channel. Right now we have a video where we examine the deck in detail, darlings, and if you're into that, you can head on over and check it out right now. Don't forget to check out your Sun, Moon and Rising for a full picture. So we're going to be pulling a card from my favourite plant spirit deck, and this is a plant that you can connect with. You can bring it into your magic. You can just take the advice and run with it if you like. It's entirely up to you. So let's see what card we have. Ooh, we have number 15, Moonwort. Moonwort. Moonwort, Moonwort. I believe we're in the summer section. We are indeed. So these beautiful plant spirits are divided between the seasons in the booklet of understanding. So you're the first one we've had in summer, summer babies, and it is your month halfway through May after all. So maybe this is the full blooming, full blossoming of your season. So Moonwort, a commonly cited magical property of the Moonwort fern, is said to be the power to pierce iron. There is said to be a hill in Devon, in the UK, so covered in Moonwort that 30 freshly shod horses belonging to the Earl of Essex once lost their horseshoes whilst riding across it. Like Moonwort, you can find inside of you the power to conquer any hurdle that stands in your way. You may feel small and even easily trampled sometimes, but every barrier that stops you from moving forward has its weak point. Embrace your inner strength to find it. You know, you've had one of the best readings so far, Gemini. We can tell it's going to be your season. So I've pulled up a little bit more information, a little bit more folklore about Moonwort. You know, let's just get a little bit closer so you guys can see it, because I don't know that I would have known Moonwort myself offhand, with a beautiful key right front and centre. So in Scotland, the Moonwort, also known as Bacterium lunaria, that's an amazing name, was also known as moonfern and had a strong reputation in folklore. From stopping bleeding to creating gold and accessing the Fey world, Moonwort's magical properties were certainly far-reaching. A few of the other names include Unshoe the Horse, which we've just heard why that is, and Lanluce in Gaelic, moonplant, and moonfern in Scottish. That's great. Occurs in Scotland and Wales, but almost absent from England. Scotland's moonwort occurs more frequently in the folklore and rural areas. You will see it in June, July, and August. It can be a difficult plant to find, but it is easy to identify. Often in the damp landscapes of Scotland, ferns are familiar groups of plants. The vast majority of them spread aggressively by releasing spores, not seeds, from the underneath of their sprawling leaves, such as bracken. Moonwort is conspicuously distant. For a start, it's tiny, rarely more than 8 centimetres tall. Next, a separate spike called the Sorophyphy houses the spores within organs resembling a bunch of grapes, which you can see on the image itself. This leads to the genus name Boticarium, which we mentioned earlier. Unlike most ferns, Moonwort spores to separate the leaves. Crucially, Moonwort possesses distinctive half-moon-shaped leaves, hence its name, and are the reason for its rich folklore. Boticarium lunaria constitutes Britain's only moonwort species. It is highly distinctive to herbalists and witches. The majority of the moonwort plant grows beneath the ground. Oh, interesting. Deriving nutrients from a symbiotic relationship with a fungus. And we've had mushrooms come up already for a different star sign. So if you have, I believe it was Aquarius. Yeah, if you have Aquarius strong in your moon or rising, there's a whole lot of synchronicity and symbiosis going on here for you, Gemini. As a consequence, moonwort rarely needs to produce leaves. This subterranean existence makes moonwort all the more enigmatic. This in turn contributed to the growth of moonwort folklore in Scotland in particular. Folklore spread widely in medieval Britain. As a result, moonwort beliefs seem to be generally consistent throughout its upland range. The plant did go by a slightly different name in Scotland, with the name wort. Was a special worth. In England, a wort plant was beneficial and had special worth. In parts of Scotland, moonwort was known simply as the moon fern, as recorded by James Hogg, the famous 18th century Scots writer and folklorist. Popularly known as the Ettrick Shepherd, Hogg wrote a poem the Scots call The Witch of Fife, which describes riding on horseback under moonlight to the fairy realm. The horses were transformed from cows, trees, and hemlocks. The magical properties of moonwort led to the leaves being used as saddles. Oh goodness, I'm going to try and read this, but it is written as in the Scottish, so I'm not trying to offend anyone. The first leet night, Cuan the new moon set, Cuan was doof and murk. We saddled our naggies with moonfern leaf and rode fra Kilmerran Kirk. So, yes, I had the choice to read as me or put on an accent, and I don't really want to offend anybody. Here, though, we can see the Scottish moonwort was still strongly identified with moonlight by those crescent-shaped leaves. Witches were believed to collect moonwort by the light of the moon, thus harnessing its magical properties. Ironically, those infertile leaves were actually seeding a great deal of folklore. While the folklore in the northern parts of Scotland seemed major on fairies and witches, it seems likely that English beliefs were more prevalent in southern Scotland. For a long time, moonlight has associations with the noble metal silver and alchemy. It must have seemed obvious, therefore, the mysterious plant with moon-shaped leaves would also have alchemic properties. This so-called law of similars, a principal folkloric tradition which states the outward appearance of a plant indicates its use. For example, if moonwort had magical properties over metals, it could surely open door locks. And if a horse was to accidentally step on it, the plant would cause the nailed-on steel horseshoes to simply fall off. Even the herbalist King Charles I was so convinced that moonwort was an alchemist's dream come true, as if it was the catalyst for converting lead into gold. Clearly, moonwort was thought to be a very potent plant in English folklore, and probably also that of Scotland. It couldn't have been long until the plant was also credited with strong healing powers. The famous 17th century British herbalist Culpeper advocated that moonwort could be used for wounds inside and out. He says, for example, it also stays bleeding, vomiting, and other fluxes. It helps all blows and bruises and to consolidate fractures and dislocations. One recommended method for ingesting this amazing medicine was to take a drink consisting of boiled moonwort leaves in red wine. Interesting. This is really interesting. How could the plant hold such powers? According to Culpeper, the simple reason was that the moon owns the herb. Wow. That is a whole lot of folklore there for you guys, Gemini. You're welcome. It's your birthday month. But what are we looking at in terms of what that means for you guys going through the month of May? So May is a big astrological month for all of us. We're going to be talking about that on Patreon. Pull the card ready to go for the 1st of May, and we're going to be looking at all the different astrological aspects that have a great big impact. So Gemini season is going to impact you guys, of course, as you shift into your own season. But what we're looking at here is the power of the unassuming, which may be an unfamiliar concept to many, because there may have been a tendency in the past to toot one's own horn, to step into one's own power, to speak one's own truth, to be okay with the narrative. You, like your Virgo brothers and sisters, are very much in that Mercury energy, and we do have a Mercury retrograde coming up in May. So usually you're very eloquent. You can talk for days, Gemini, and you put yourself out there, or you talk around an issue if you don't feel like talking directly to it. But you come up with interesting ideas with flair. And so maybe this month you are feeling a little bit cut off from that element. Now, this plant is very much associated with the moon, right? And bending metal. And that to me is almost like bending someone's ear off. For some reason, that's the symbolism that's coming through, that it feels like you could use your powers of eloquence to turn someone's mind around. But because of all these retrogrades and eclipse seasons, you're actually you're actually spinning your own wheels in your head and not actually getting where you want to be going. That can happen with moon energy as well. Of course, the moon in tarot lends itself to that dreamy, illusional state sometimes. So you might have been finding yourself a little bit flustered, a little bit like you can't laser focus in on the target. And there is a key in the center of the card here. So the answer also lies within the issue. So here we're talking about dreaming things into being, Gemini, using your birthday month and your energy, birthday month going into next month, of course, and using your dreamy energy to unlock the secrets of magic. It's a liminal space. There's a lot of potential. This unassuming plant is considered like a miracle worker, and it's also difficult to find in certain places of Britain. So you can put your value and your worth as something which is rare, refined, not available to every Tom, Dick and Harry, you know? And you don't have to be available to every single person who asks. Just because you feel like an inner social butterfly sometimes doesn't mean that you have to live up to that all the time, and nor does it mean that you give that superpower away to anybody and everybody. Be a little bit choosy this month. Don't be giving away all your energy, all your power, and you will find that magic happens for you. You have the power to unlock it, Gemini, so go for it. If you would like to learn more about the weekly readings or the monthly readings, you can join me over on Patreon, where we do both, and they can help us make sense of the additional energies around, especially coming May, because May is a cluster of astrological fooks. So have a very good month, my darlings, and I'll talk to you soon.